Hello everyone. So I've got some work to do in my plant room and I figured I'd bring you along. I have things that need to be repotted. I have things that need some watering. I have some organization to do and some other things to share along the way. If you are new to this channel, my name is Tiffany. I am starting a micro flower farm in the mid-desert of Arizona, zone 8, sometimes teetering into zone 9. So walking in is just crazy. I have stuff from Amazon, I have seeds, I have bulbs that have been bought, I have seedlings from outside that need attention. I have seeds that probably just need to be tossed at this point because they're not great, or I just don't anticipate getting them outside. I have the stuff that is currently growing, and some of these need to be repotted or propagated, and so I'm going to work on that today and bring you along. And then I've also just got this mess of things where I've gotten stuff in the mail or seeds and I've just kind of tossed them aside. So I've got to try to get that back into good shape and a little bit more organized. So let's get started. And that's the hardest part sometimes, is when you've got a mountain of work, is trying to figure out what needs to happen first. And so I think what I'm going to do first is get everything organized and in good standing. That way I can easily find what I need to start some of the potting process, some of the propagation process. And then while we're at it, we'll give everything a good water as we try to organize and get everything, hopefully, everything I can get onto these shelves today, because I'm not anticipating with our current temps to see any improvement soon. And with that means that these guys are just going to be stuck inside for a little longer, and they're just going to have some space on the shelf in the meantime. So yeah. Okay, here's what I came up with. So I have, my books, my planners, any type of thing I'm using for labeling and such, seed collection, plant markers, troubleshooting things to help that with growth that aren't stuff that I use all the time. Down on this shelf, I picked up this cool little organizer at Tractor Supply that was clearanced out. And so I'm just going to go ahead and throw whatever seeds I don't have homes for in here for time being, and things that I know I need to probably plant soon. Some bulbs that I picked up at Tractor Supply, which I'm sure I'll talk about soon. This is brand new, and I'm going to be getting into this, which is soil blocking. So I have, for the longest time, have just been using these cell trays, which are fine, but I think I'll get a little bit more benefit by soil blocking. I think my germination and growth rate will be a little bit better, and so I can also fit more seedlings in as well. So this is new. I've got to get my potting mix first, and then I can start doing this, which saves me money on trays and also will save me money on the amount of soil that I am using. So I'm excited to maybe start posting some videos of me using this. And this is what I did with all those seeds. So you saw in a previous video that I went through and kind of organized everything that I had, at least for the amount of these little plastic cartridges that I have. And I figured setting it up this way versus having it on the floor is going to be much easier for me to just kind of grab and go for what I need. These are what I use to water in here. So just a spray bottle and just a little pitcher, and those move around, so it's not really like their home base or anything. Under here is just where I'm putting my actual seed tray trays and cell planters and things like that. These go hand in hand with the soil blocking. This is what those will sit on once the seed blocks are created and the seeds are planted. And so that's going to take the place essentially of these deep guys right here. So I will also save water as well. This up again, Tractor Supply, and just wanted to give it a test out, even though I'm kind of getting away from this, but I figured maybe Paul would also want to use that. And it's just a reusable cell planter where you can kind of pop the bottoms out a little bit easier and they don't break and crack like plastic ones, like these guys, these thinner plastic guys do. But anyways, yeah, this is just my stuff where I can plant seeds into. And then down here at the bottom is always where I keep my soil mixes, vermiculite, perlites, and then these are more hoops that I purchased that will go out. That way I can cover my garden rows out there. So I just haven't gotten to them yet. So next up, I'm gonna give these guys a good watering, and then we're going to move on to propagating some Snapdragons. Alright, so these guys are really tall. At this point, they need to be pinched. Something recently that I learned is that you can reuse essentially the part that you're pinching off. So typically, when pinching Snapdragons, they say to do it from the second set of leaves up. In the past, I imagine people were just taking this extra part and just tossing it and not thinking anything of it, because then what happens is this single shoot would then produce secondary shoots that go out, so you get more essentially stems of Snapdragon. And so with these, I'm going to kind of triple my profit on these, I guess, and propagate essentially this tip that would be thrown away. And there's other YouTubers that have done this method, and it just makes complete and total sense to do it this way, rather than just throwing out all of this hard work and money for Snapdragons, because they're not the easiest seed to grow. As far as it's not complex, it's just they're very tiny and take some effort. And so anyways, I'm going to plant it into these guys here, and hopefully I can get another flush of Snapdragons. Alright, so I've been kind of mixing around the potting soil, just getting it wet, added some water to it. That way these guys have something, I guess, so that they are off to a good start once we get them propagated and put into their new pots. Something else you need for this is a rooting hormone or a rooting powder. And this is what causes that propagation. While it is not 100% required, you could propagate via water. This is much easier, and it doesn't cost a whole lot. I think like maybe $5 or something like that, and it should last you a while. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, get my pots filled up with soil here. These aren't the only snaps that I'm putting out as well. I'm starting with my Chantilly mix because they are my tallest, but I also have a couple other varieties that we might be able to propagate from. We'll take a look after we get these ones completed. And to be honest, after I propagate these, if all goes well, I actually might have enough for my spring season, because again, I'm just a micro farm. I don't need to have, you know, 70 to 100 some to hundreds of plants going, at least not right now. That's, I think, the dream ambition for all of us, is to have hundreds and thousands of plants going out, but I am limited to my space until we get more water resource out on our land. So for now, we're just doing the best with what we have. I'm gonna use this little tool here to go ahead and make my holes down into, make holes down into the pot there. And so now comes the nerve-wracking part of cutting these to create that. So again, we are going to, this one, there we go. We're going 2 up. The best way they say to make certain you've got enough on here to propagate is obviously you're going to want some more growing above it. So they say at least 5 open leaves, sets of leaves, which I definitely have on a few of these here. So I'm good to go on this one. So again, I'm going to count 2 up on here. These 2 leaves right here this is the first set, and then this one here, these 2 are the second set. So I'm going to go ahead and make my cut as close as possible to that second set on the stem. So that one is cut. I'm taking it now, putting it down into the root powder. So I've got some of that white root powder on there. And now I'm just going to plop it down into that hole that we created and just push the soil down around it here to kind of keep it nice and snug in there. And so this other one has been cut, and this one will continue to produce offshoots, which will even produce even more Snapdragons for me, hopefully. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these trays out, and I'll show you once they're done what they look like. Alright, so this is what I ended up with after propagating. So you can see these guys, they've had a haircut, obviously. And again, they will branch out eventually. And this was all that I got from those propagating, which isn't really bad. These are technically free plants to me, so very cool. And I have some rudbeckia that needs to just be repotted. It's kind of overcrowding itself, and the roots are a hot mess. So we'll see if it even makes it, but that is nuts. But anyways, we're gonna repot it, or try our best to, and see if maybe we can prolong them a little bit longer. Alright, those are done. So now I can just give everything a good watering and see what makes it and what doesn't. Alright, so everything is potted up that I wanted to get repotted today. I've got a little bit of cleaning up to do before I'm finished with working on stuff today, but I did want to introduce you to the real all-star of this whole entire thing. Hi everyone, so this is usually the part of the video where I take you around outside so you can see kind of what's growing around out there, but we are in the thick of winter now here in Arizona, which means we've hit our 2-week to month period stint where we receive really low frigid temps. Usually everybody goes into freeze warnings, including places like Tucson, and even some places up in Phoenix might have to be leery about what is outside and growing and covering things. Where I am at, though, is a little bit colder than Tucson, and so we got hit hard, and we had 3 to 4 days in consecutive order of hard freeze, and that did a number to a few things that I had planted out, and I've lost some of those. And so what I've decided is that I am not going to plant anything else out until we hit maybe late March to April. Our last frost date where I am at is mid-April, and so that is when the last chance of frost can happen. For some of the things I still have going right now, I'm looking for nights where the lows are at least in the mid-30s and upper 30s before I would feel comfortable planting out. And right now they are sitting in the 20s, which is just not ideal. You saw me repotting rudbeckia, and you saw me redoing some Snapdragons today. Those Snapdragons are cold hardy and tolerant. If I wanted to, I could have planted those out, and I might still do a very early or late, I guess for us technically it would be late winter or early spring planting of those, to get those out and try to get them established before the summer heat and stuff comes on, because we don't necessarily have springs here. It is typically maybe a week of mild temps, and then it's gonna start really progressively getting warm. That is one thing I remembered last year, is that we had went on a trip cross country in April, and when we came back, everything was literally green and growing and bloomed out, and it was warm enough that the snakes were out. And so that is something that I kept in mind, because that tells me that there is no shoulder season here. It is all or nothing. And so it's something we have to be really conscious about. So we can't necessarily wait for those dates where it's like last frost or whatever. We kind of have to take chances. So I'm planning on losing things. It's a given. Even more well-established flower farmers that have been here know you just lose things, you kill things constantly. So that's something that I'll have to deal with, even though it's been very frustrating. But I did make up my mind. I'm not planning anything else out until we get closer to those things. So I've got a month or two to get things started for transplants, and just to kind of take my time and get things ready until we start rolling into the summer season. I think that spring to summer season is going to be where you'll really see a lot of stuff producing out in the garden. I did want to give the cool flowers a try. I did it, wasn't super successful this year. There's a lot of reasons and feedback I've provided in other videos, but it's a learning process. I'm not going to walk around the garden. There's nothing out there to show you. There's a couple things still hanging on, but it's not worth showing because they've not really grown much anyways. Spring, summer, I'm just going to plant out like crazy. So I'm keeping hope that we're going to see much more color coming in the near future. But for now, it just is what it is, and we'll work through it and we'll keep learning. So with that, I'm gonna let you go. I really appreciate you watching my video. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, please feel free to subscribe. I'm a growing channel, still within my infancy period, so it would be nice to have some fellow followers along that can share this journey with me. So thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.